Today I'm going to argue why you may want to use a workstation computer instead of a laptop, and why you may want to run Linux on it. This is not universal, but you may still want to follow along if you find yourself in a situation like mine. So where I'm currently at. I work in software engineering and I work on server-side systems and a little bit on management. And the most important part is that my current job allows me to bring my own hardware. If you work in the office, then it would likely be different for you because you would need to carry a laptop around, if only for meetings, because you would have meetings in a meeting room and you would need to carry documents around or present something. But if you can work from home and if you can bring your own hardware, then you may want to consider using a workstation. Interestingly, I know quite a few people who have never used workstations and only used laptops because they started their job when the laptops were powerful enough. But yeah, let's take a look at a few reasons why a workstation may be better. The second reason is peripherals. Almost universally, you would get better peripherals on a workstation than you can ever get on a laptop. This is because on a laptop, you are limited by space and you need to make components power efficient. Whereas if you have a whole desk under your control, you can do whatever you like with it. For example, I have a 32-inch monitor that is very comfortably mounted on a monitor arm, and I can move it however I like and set it up to exactly match my eye level. I can also have a very decent keyboard with nice key travel and a mouse. And I also have a drawing tablet, which is very important to me because I occasionally would write documents and I would draw diagrams. And I find it a lot easier to use a drawing tablet instead of a normal diagram editing software. And finally, the webcam and the headset. For webcams, you can also get something a lot nicer than you would find on laptops, because on laptops, you fit a webcam into a very thin screen, and usually you would have very poor quality. Save maybe for MacBooks, which maybe have semi-decent cameras, but for a desktop you can find something a lot better and a lot cheaper. And for the headsets, many laptops manufacturers insist on plugging peripherals through Bluetooth, which is very fiddly. Especially if you have to carry Bluetooth headphones, they would occasionally disconnect. Even on Macs, they would disconnect all the time, and I would personally see a lot of people who have constant troubles with headset connectivity. What I have in my case, I have a pretty simple, not very expensive USB headset that is just wired to the PC. And it serves me really well. I'm yet to find even one case where I have a trouble connecting it anywhere. The second big reason is overall better performance and latency. Of course, right now you can find pretty decently powerful laptops, but they still don't compare all that well to the more powerful workstations, especially in price. For example, my workstation has a 32-thread CPU and 64 gigabytes of memory, and I still believe it's faster than top-of-the-line MacBooks. And if you add a high refresh rate display to it, you would get a very, very high performance system for a lot cheaper. The third reason is actually better meetings. I personally spend a lot of time in interviews with engineers who I interview into my team, and also I occasionally have calls with the team itself. And what I found is that it's a lot better if I can set up a camera for my specific environment, and if I have a headset that works all the time. And it is very consistent. I don't have to worry at all about the quality. Reason number 4 is probably purely psychological. I prefer to work when and where I'm intending to do work, and I'm trying to not take the work outside of that. So I would not work in a cafe or in the bed or whatnot. I know that some people like it in a different way, but this works well for me, especially since I work remotely. I would need to have a clear boundary. Reason number 5 is ability to run Linux. And this may be important for you if you, like me, work on server-side software most of the time. On a Mac, you cannot run Linux software. You need to use either Docker containers or you need to compile it natively, neither of which works really well. With Docker, you would get slowdowns because you're actually running a virtual machine with virtualized hardware. And with compiling the software natively, you would oftentimes have differences with how the operating system works as compared to Linux. Ideally, your environment should be as close as possible to your target hardware. And if you run Linux, that is actually possible. Another case for Linux is that if you work with remote servers and occasionally troubleshoot things, then you likely work with GNU tools. And on macOS, you work with their own version of BSD tools, which have subtle differences. And your scripts would likely work on one system and not on the other, which makes you spend double effort. Reason number 6 is tiling window managers. If you have a workstation with a large display and you have a Linux, then you can get that little bit extra boost to your productivity. I personally don't spend all that much time on decorations and whatnot, but I highly value the responsiveness and speed with which I can switch between things, because most of the time I spend in my computer is when I work on something professional. So yeah, it's very important to me, and if you've never tried tiling window managers, then give them a try. They will probably change the way you work. So, to summarize, there are still quite a few reasons why you may give a shot to workstations, especially in terms of performance and convenience. And if you can allow yourself to work from a single spot and not to move around, you may want to try and overcome the inertia and just experiment with it.